You know that goal you set at the start of the year? You can still do it, whether you're committed to a thru hike with friends, lifting heavier, or simply walking more. It's not too late to stick with it and make your future self proud, especially with the all-in-one nutrition shake from Kachava. Because quality nutrition shouldn't be complicated. Just 2 scoops of Kachava's all-in-one nutrition shake, and you've got 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, adaptogens, and so much more. Plus, it actually tastes delicious. No fillers, no nonsense. Just the good stuff your body craves. So instead of adding to your backstock of supplements that overpromise and underdeliver, simplify your progress with just 2 scoops of the highest quality ingredients. Stick with your wellness goals. Go to Kachava.com and use code FITNESS for 15% off. That's Kachava.com and use code FITNESS. KACHAVA.com, code FITNESS.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network. This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
This segment of Money Moves sponsored by Upside. Download the free Upside app and earn real cash back every time you fill up. Promo code SPORTS for 25 cents back per gallon as well on your first tank. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you, kicking off hour 2 here at Money Moves, VSiN, the sports betting network, Sirius XM channel 158.
So a report comes down just now. This is from Front Office Sports, and this is kind of an I told you so. Did Cardi B perform during the Super Bowl halftime show? That was a market that was up.
We were talking about this yesterday.
Yep, in prediction markets. On one outlet, $47 million was put on who would perform. Cardi B appeared in the shows, we know. But the prediction market in question here is saying that just dancing in the background doesn't count, and somebody has filed a complaint with the CFTC.
And it's not like...
Shocking.
Well, and with at least like legalized sports books in places like here, there are very like strict parameters and rules, and I feel like
and the wording they specify the wording.
Correct.
Yes.
That when you do at some of these other places, and those things are available, they don't have those types of things available. That's why I asked the question yesterday, because Cardi B specifically, I felt like that was the big one because she had been talked about and she was the favorite for who was going to perform with Bad Bunny, and she was just there smiling happily.
As was Jessica Alba.
And Alex Earl, and Pedro Pascal.
And Jessica Alba.
Honey.
What's that? Who's that? What's that?
That's the Jessica Alba movie where she dances and she's all hot. You never saw Honey?
I mean, I've also seen she's also done that in Sin City.
But Honey's like the one that like took her off the ground. That was the launching of Jessica Alba's Super Hot.
I just remember being like, I don't know, like 12 and watching Sin City. When did Sin City come out? Let me see. 2005. All right, so I was like 14.
So when did Honey come out?
I have no idea. I've never even heard of that movie.
Hold on.
So you're going to find this for us, yeah. Either way.
2003. I'm right.
Okay,
that was the one that propped her up, took it away. Let's get into the NBA card a little bit more. We talked about this earlier. What?
I've seen the poster. I know
for sure.
Yeah, I've never seen the actual whatever you're talking about. Which
that's the original.
We'll not Google later.
You're going to get some weird searches later. The NBA card today is a small one, so gave us an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper. We did 2 games a little bit earlier, 2 more still that we haven't touched on yet, including the Mavs and Suns, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific for us out here on the West Coast. Suns have been a little hot and cold since the new year. Got Devin Booker back, though, from the 7-game absence on Saturday. Jalen Green also returned to play his 6th game of the year, but they fell to the Sixers, dropped 3 of 4, remain outside the top 6 in the West right now. Mavs, meanwhile, have been struggling even more.
Yep.
They entered tonight on a 7-game skid, covering only twice in that stretch, JVT. This is also the 2nd game of what will be a 6-game road trip for them, getting 8.5 tonight.
Yeah, hard to really want to run in and back Dallas. I mean, this is a very big number, so maybe you're sitting back and thinking that this could be one where you're just going to sneak inside of it. But a questionable Klay Thompson today at last look in terms of the injury report. So that's going to be something to monitor here. Cooper Flagg has had some pretty big performances. In fact, his last game out, it was 14 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. That snapped a stretch of scoring at least 32 points in 4 consecutive games. So maybe we get another big individual performance from Cooper Flagg again, albeit in a losing effort, which seems to be the regular now for the Dallas Mavericks. Not one that I really wanted to run and back either side. Would lead toward Dallas. I think that as you've kind of gotten to know me at this point, you're kind of trying to play against where the market has been and where teams are heading in terms of their current form, trying to catch where they're at, buying low and selling high. And so Dallas plus 8.5 will be the sign. The injury to note here for Phoenix, Grayson Allen will not be out there with that right knee sprain. That's a loss, but as you mentioned, without Devin Booker on the injury report, you can at least make up some of that. Of course, the loss of Grayson Allen there. So lean toward the Mavericks, but didn't have anything strong here.
Is there anything to bet on or fade with Devin Booker from 3 with the struggles that he's had recently and even that first game back the other day, 1 of 7 from 3-point range? Or is that something, I mean, I know you're not a huge prop bettor in general, but any general thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I think that the problem there, especially without Allen, is the volume's probably going to be there. Sure. I mean, he was 1 for 7 the other day. He was also 5 of 9 right before he got injured and missed some time. And if you're asking him to be the valve for you offensively or the very key main valve, then the attempts are probably going to be there for him to potentially just put them up. And I think that'll probably be something you'll really have to sweat out for the most part that you don't really like a ton of. But to the point overall, I should say, actually not, but there's not really like a big perimeter stopper that's going to be able to, I think, keep up with them. And I think that'll lend himself to a much better game than what we saw in the first time out. 21 points, you mentioned it, 2 rebounds, 9 assists, but 5 of 12 shooting. Did get to the free throw line 11 times, which is always pretty good.
Yes, and was very efficient from the free throw line. The Lakers, meanwhile, getting 10.5 today against the Spurs, total 225.5. LA had their little 3-game win streak snapped yesterday, 110 loss to the Thunder. Second half of a back-to-back today. Also the dreaded third game in 4 days against a rested Spurs team. LeBron yesterday, 22 points, 10 assists, third straight double-digit assist game for him, but was not happy post-game about where his team was at. Here is LeBron in response to a question from David McMenamin of ESPN about where his team is at.
Where are you seeing the gaps between like where they're at and the things they do well consistently versus like kind of the build that you guys are trying to put together?
You want me to compare us to them?
No, I want to know where you think though that like sort of as this team is on its like.
That's a championship team right there. We're not.
What are the biggest things you think that are keeping this team as efficient right now?
We can't sustain energy and effort for 48 minutes. And they can. That's why they won a championship.
The last question was way better. I think he kind of got caught up in there. If you just ask that last question first, I think you get a better answer and not so salty LeBron. But, I mean, this has been the MO for this team. How long have we talked about this? They go on a 3-game winning streak. It's Brooklyn, it's Philly, and Golden State. Okay, congratulations. You beat these teams. You beat the average to below average teams, and then you run into a decent team, which, by the way, is pretty shorthanded in the sense of no Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, relying on Jalen Williams, who just came back. And sure enough, what do? You lose and you fail to cover 119 to 110. This has been what Los Angeles has been this whole time. And so you fast forward to today, I was telling you, I was complaining because 7.5 last time. I was like, that seems short. See what the market does here. Up to 9.5 today against the San Antonio Spurs. And I wouldn't be shocked if they go out there and put forth a loose effort, which leads them to not covering this number for San Antonio. I think the market is starting to come around on what the Lakers are at this point right now, too. And the key here is that we don't have an official injury report yet, this being the second leg of a back-to-back. Who's going to play, who's not, obviously with no rest, and a bad spot as well. It's the third game in 4 nights, second leg of that back-to-back, as we just mentioned. So situationally, this is a very big play against spot for LA.
Lakers 5-5 now without Luka Doncic as well. We haven't seen a lot of Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves all on the court together at the same time. Looking at the big picture odds in the Western Conference, 19-1, tied for 5th on the board. If the 3 of them were healthy and they're playing, like, could they be a formidable opponent come postseason time? I
mean, they'd be formidable in the sense of those are 3 very good individual offensive players who are going to give any team a very big problem.
But they still don't play enough defense.
Yeah, are they formidable enough to win 3-4 playoff series? No, I don't think that would be the case. Would they in any one series be a pain for anybody they run into? I think absolutely. So depends on what you mean by that question. But I would say in any one series when you have Luka Doncic, yes. But in the big picture, I think this is a flawed team that will probably not. I mean, I think they're going to participate in the play-in. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, added them a 2-1 to participate in the play-in. I think that is what they are going to be by the time the season ends. And then the question becomes, do you get out of the play-in? Los Angeles Clippers will be in there. The Portland Trailblazers will be in there. Warriors, whoever is going to be in there as well. For a team of their level, it's going to be an interesting sweat to get out of that depending on where you finish too. Are you going to be a top playing team and have to just win one game, or will we be at the bottom and have to win two? They'll probably be at the top, so I think they're going to make it in at least.
We didn't get to this a little bit earlier. In terms of MVP right now, with how many of these players at the top of the board are dealing with injuries and games missed and all of that stuff, is there a bet to be made right now, potentially?
I don't know. We talked a little bit about this on Pod of the Futures today. It's just becoming a really interesting storyline right now. So Cade Cunningham yesterday, scores 30 points, is the 11th time so far. And then you look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's missed 5 games now. He's not supposed to miss much time, but look, he's got 12 games left in his pocket that he can miss at this point. Jokic has missed 16 games, as we covered, and I was right about. Just saying. He can only miss one more game before being ineligible. So
listen, did I do the math 8 times? Yes. But we eventually got the right answer.
And by the way, when I say miss 12, miss 1, that means that's how many games he has left. So if Jokic misses 2, he's ineligible. If Shai Gilgeous-Alexander misses 13 more, he's ineligible. Luka Doncic, who missed his 10th game the other day, if he misses 8 more, then he is ineligible. So this is going to be something that we're watching here as we move forward, because it's just becoming pretty interesting. And like when Shai comes back, will OKC lean more toward resting him in some of these spots on second legs of back-to-backs, making sure, because remember, too, you got to think OKC in the front office is maybe like a teensy bit gun shy. I mean, Shai's now injured. Jalen Williams missed a ton of time. Hartenstein's been injured. They have dealt with injuries all over the place on that roster. And so do you wonder if maybe they're going to shelve him a bit? And if he does, and if you get to a point where we're talking about availability affecting this MVP race, Cade Cunningham has had a really strong year, and he's going to potentially be in position to do that. He's not in like super danger of missing out on this. And I threw one out today, which I don't think is worth adding. It's just worth.
You mentioned it on the show.
Which one?
Jalen Brunson?
No.
Is that not who
No,
you brought that
today.
up the other day.
Today, I was thinking about this. This was one of those like think out loud experiments. It's on that list right there if we want to throw it up. If the Cavaliers go on the run that I think they can go on to end the year, and this is only reliant on whether or not this availability stuff comes into play, Donovan Mitchell's had a very, very strong year. And at 300-1, I will be curious to see how this availability plays out for all 3 of these guys, and if Donovan Mitchell continues on a strong run that I think he will, because I think being with Harden's going to open up a lot of stuff for him, that maybe becomes a little bit more realistic.
Did your thought process on Jalen Brunson fall apart? You changed your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mitchell's had a little bit
as
more
far as the long shots go, you think he'd be the better option?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's about it. What do you think?
I trust your thought process with how strong you've been on the NBA lately. Senior NBA analyst Jonathan Von Tobel, by the way, which I know you love that.
Would you say that there's a lot of upside?
I would say there's a lot of upside, which is a great reminder, guys. If you haven't heard, you don't need to pay full price on gas right now with the free Upside app. You can earn real cash back every time you fill up. It's quick, it's easy, it adds up. Drivers are earning $200 to $300 a year just by buying the gas they already needed. Use promo code SPORTS, get 25 cents back per gallon on your first tank, and you can cash out anytime to your bank account or e-gift cards like Amazon. Download the free Upside app now. Promo code SPORTS for a limited time. 25 cents per gallon on that early bonus. Offers may vary by user and location. See upside.com for details. The first PGA Signature event of the season coming up this week out there at Pebble Beach in California. We haven't seen Rory McIlroy yet. We will this week. Going to break it all down with VSiN's own Wes Reynolds of Long Shots. Get a little college hoops in there as well with Wes. We'll be right back on Money Moves.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You know that goal you set at the start of the year? You can still do it, whether you're committed to a thru hike with friends, lifting heavier, or simply walking more. It's not too late to stick with it and make your future self proud, especially with the all-in-one nutrition shake from Kachava. Because quality nutrition shouldn't be complicated. Just 2 scoops of Kachava's all-in-one nutrition shake, and you've got 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, adaptogens, and so much more. Plus, it actually tastes delicious. No fillers, no nonsense. Just the good stuff your body craves. So instead of adding to your backstock of supplements that overpromise and underdeliver, simplify your progress with just 2 scoops of the highest quality ingredients. Stick with your wellness goals. Go to Kachava.com and use code FITNESS for 15% off. That's Kachava.com and use code FITNESS. KACHAVA.com, code FITNESS.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We are waiting for a signal on a power play goal right now in Team USA Canada. We will see if it ends up being the good goal.
They're showing 4 fans in the stands, all in official attire, and they all have their hands up like they're on the phone. This has been taking forever. We're waiting to see whether or not this is a goal for the Americans.
There was already controversy about the goal in general, and then it was about who scored it. And now that it was ruled a good goal, it's been challenged by Canada. So we shall see. Coach's challenge unsuccessful. Good goal for Team USA. 3-0.
Let's go.
Let's go. America. And Wes Reynolds loves America as well as he joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Very excited to have you on the show, buddy. Going to talk through some PGA, some college basketball. If you haven't already, by the way, the Long Shots podcast, the premier golf betting podcast out there. And we've got a big one this week with the PGA's first signature event of the season out there at Pebble Beach. How are you?
I'm well. We have a good goal over there in Milan Cortina. So a good start for the U.S. hockey. Make up for the curling devastating loss that we suffered earlier today.
Yes, we did watch that earlier as well. So it did suck. They looked like they were very upset. I don't know. Did one of the curlers for Team USA make a mistake, Wes? Were you watching with sound? Because one of them looked devastated on one of the final, I don't know what you call them, attempts or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think the throw was a little bit hard in whatever the last frame or inning. I don't know what they call it in curling, but nevertheless, they lost at the end to Sweden. So see if the women's hockey team and the Quad God can make up for it today.
Well, let's talk a little bit of golf here off the top. Pebble Beach Pro-Am getting underway beginning on Thursday, and looking at some of the plays that you already have in pocket, you are looking a little bit farther down the board, which I know people love to see, getting bang for the buck on the long shots as much as you can in this thing. Who's your, I guess, favorite player or the guy that you are most interested in this week?
I don't love to see it because Scotty Scheffler ends up running away and winning all the time, even though he didn't do it last week. But going against him again. Of course, Rory and Tommy Fleetwood, by the way, make their American debuts after they've been playing in Dubai back in January. But started the card with Russell Henley, 31-1 at Circa. He is 6th in the official world golf ranking, and he's really been consistent. Hadn't finished outside the top 20 in the last 9 months. Got a couple runners up, a couple top 10s in majors. Good start to the year, 19th at the Sony in Hawaii, 8th at the Amex, 5th here last year. He's really good at driving the golf ball, doesn't miss a lot of fairways, and this is a shorter course. Actually, both these layouts are Pebble Beach and Spyglass Hill. So shorter course, but you can't just bomb it off the tee just because of the wind factor, and you got to keep it in play, got to hit some fairway woods, and I think Henley will do that really good at approaching the green, and also a very good scrambler. So Russell Henley is where I started the card.
Any golfers that you would look to actively fade? Have you played any golfers consistently in some matchups or against them?
In terms of a fade, kind of hard. We don't have a lot of data early in the season, but a couple guys that I think have just been a little bit off kilter early. Ludwig Aubert, I think, is a guy. Remember, he won early last year at the Genesis Invitational when it was at Torrey Pines. His game has just seemed off. He pulled out of an event with an illness, so you never want to read too much into that. But that would be a guy I would certainly fade, at least in the short term, until he kind of figures it out going forward.
I know this isn't a guy on your card, but just curious, especially coming off of the WM Phoenix Open this past week, Chris Gotterup, who's had such a great start to the season. Can his hot streak continue?
I don't see why not. And Kelly Bidlin surely was on him last week down there in Phoenix as Matsuyama did kind of make a mess of 18 and also the first playoff hole. I don't see why not. He's already won 2 events. Not a ton of experience here because he's still a very young player, by the way. He's only out of college a couple years, but he didn't make my card this week, but I don't see why he wouldn't keep it going. He's in really hot form right now. Siwoo Kim, another one in very hot form. I think he hasn't won, but a third, a second, a sixth. I think he's been like inside the top 10 in his last 6 worldwide starts going back to November. So he's going to be a very popular back this week for sure.
Wes, what is I know we're going to talk a little bit more about some of your bets here, but I'm curious because this came up with Mitch today on our podcast, Pod to the Futures. I added Chris Goddard up at 40-1 to win the Masters. What do you look like in terms of adding to your Masters portfolio at this point?
Yeah, and these have been up. The Masters is always really unique, right? Because these start to get up like in November and December. It's not like, where you only got a month in between the PGA or the U.S. Open. But, that's what I think you got to do. You got to constantly monitor the market, and a good scoop by you with Goddard up. I'm going to be looking for guys, kind of in that mid-range. Patrick Reed is certainly somebody I think you want to consider, although his price is probably dropping like a stone. Patrick Reed, by the way, not playing live golf this year, but playing basically a full-time DP World Tour schedule. He's a former winner here. He was in lousy form last year and ended up in the top 5. So you could still get Patrick Reed in the mid to high 30s, I think, at a couple places out there. He's always a threat at Augusta because he makes every putt and he scrambles his you-know-what off to make up for the fact that he doesn't hit it as long as some of these other guys near the top.
One of the outrights you have in your portfolio is somebody who I was looking at for a top 20, Victor Hovland, who is coming off a personal best top 10 at TPC Scottsdale. He's logged a couple top 25s in 4 starts here to begin the season. What are you looking at with him? Why do you think he could win this thing?
Yeah, maybe the Norwegian Hovland here is inspired by Norway leading the medal count currently over in Milan, but he has actually won on this course before. Now, as when he was an amateur, he won the U.S. Amateur here in 2018 when it was at Pebble and Spyglass Hill, because they're going to be the first 2 days. You're going to play Pebble one day, Spyglass the next, before everybody goes to Pebble on the weekend in the no-cut event. He's been very good on coastal courses, won a couple times in Mexico, one in Puerto Rico. So 10th last week at Phoenix. I like how he played. He played very consistently. So he's got the game, I think, to flourish here.
When you look at the 2 courses you're going to play at, is there an advantage to be had like for a first-round leader play at all if you're looking at the 2 courses the way they're split?
I think Pebble's a little bit of the easier course, John. Okay. It's not much difference in length. Spyglass may be like 60, 70 yards, but Spyglass, you get the wind protected a little bit more, but the fairways aren't as wide. So there's a lot of trees at Spyglass, not necessarily much with Pebble, but the fairways are on the narrow side. They're like 26 yards on average. Meanwhile, at Pebble, they're in the mid to high 30s. The greens are also larger at Spyglass than they are at Pebble Beach, but there hasn't really been, it's kind of been even over the last several years, where Spyglass one year, then Pebble the next year for first round leader. But I tend to think that Spyglass actually, can be the tougher course because it's less affected by the wind.
All right, Wes, who else is on your card in some of those mid-range to longer shots that you like?
Yeah, a couple right down from Henley and Hovland. Matt Fitzpatrick, mid-30s, 34-1, I think, at DraftKings is where I saw the best number. 9th last week in Phoenix. Just never got going in the final round. He ended 2025. He beat Rory in that playoff over at the DP World Tour Championship in Dubai. Past winner at Harbour Town, which is kind of a very similar course when you look at guys who have won both events to Pebble Beach. So Matt Fitzpatrick, 34-1. Sepp Straka, 63-1, was T7 here last year after he had won the American Express 2 weeks before. And then Akshay Bhatia at 66-1. T3 last week in Phoenix, top 10 in approach, top 10 in putting. Left-handers have done very well here. It's predominantly Phil Mickelson, who's won here 5 times, but you have seen some other left-handers win here. And Akshay, I thought, maybe got some confidence going last week in Phoenix.
All right, let's switch over to some college hoops here. Purdue in an interesting matchup against Nebraska. What do we got tonight, Wes?
Yeah, Purdue has kind of gotten into that rut of the season, right? Even though they've won the last 2 games against Oregon and Maryland, 2 of the worst teams in the conference, but they kind of hit a little bit of a rut, and sometimes that happens. But I'm going to trust a senior-laden, experienced team, 2 senior guards with Smith and Lawyer, who, by the way, Fletcher Lawyer has broken out of a shooting slump they had for most of the Big Ten Conference season, but Trey Kaufman-Wren's got to be better. He's kind of been in and out over the last few games. I'm going to trust Purdue here against Nebraska. 2 very similar teams, shoot the ball well, don't turn it over. Nebraska a little bit better defensively, Purdue a little bit better offensively. This maybe is the kind of the low spot to get it back in on Purdue. I still think that they're very much a Final Four contender.
What do we do with North Carolina here today coming off of the big win against Duke? Is it a potential letdown against Miami?
I think it is, and I think maybe this line goes up. It's currently 1.5. Maybe wait on it a little bit because you might get 2, you might get 2.5. Miami is one of those teams. They haven't really done anything wrong, but they haven't done enough right to get into the NCAA tournament. Sure. They really don't have that marquee win yet, even though Jai Lucas, who came from John Shire's staff at Duke, has done a really good job with this transfer-heavy team. They just haven't beaten any of those really big top opponents. They've beaten everybody they should beat and are expected to beat. They're not expected to beat North Carolina, but I think they get the heels off that win over Duke tonight. So go with the U. I wasn't rooting for them last month, but I'm rooting for them tonight.
See, you can root for them now. That's fine. You know, you've got the positive juju now doing something positive, good for Miami.
Well, I mean, would you have cheered for him here if you had lost the game? Now you have bragging rights.
No,
you know what I mean? So who cares? Yeah.
So now, yeah, we'll sacrifice a basketball game. We got the one we wanted.
Wes, you're awesome. Thank you so much for the time. We appreciate you.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good to talk to you, buddy.
Wes Reynolds. And again, over on VSiN.com, write-ups weekly on all of the marquee PGA Tour events, Long Shots podcast. He, Matt Brown, Kelly Bidlin doing a great job each and every week there. I looked at that spread and I thought maybe it was a little bit too short, but to Wes's point, just let it get a little bit more inflated and see if you can take the home dog in that spot. You hear that music? We got to step aside. More money moves rolling on here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Stay with us.
Watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Team USA on the power play, but they're up 3-0 right now. Hillary Knight, by the way, future Hockey Hall of Famer on the women's side, credited with a secondary assist on that Caroline Harvey first period goal. We just got the update on that, making her tie Jenny Potter's U.S. Olympic record, 32 career points, 1 goal away, if she does it throughout the course of this tournament, to breaking the record for Olympic goals by an American. So that would be pretty cool. But up 3-0 right now on the kill. Canada just killed off a penalty of their own, and you are giddy about something. What's going on?
Man U game just started.
Okay, so give the background for this for our audience.
So this is totally social media. A lot of you old folks are not going to care, or maybe even send more expletives my way. Suck it. I'm going to have a second here. So there's a guy on I guess we'll call it social. Yeah, like TikTok, I think is where he got famous. His username is the United Strand. Long story short, he is a Man United fan who has decided that he will not cut his hair until Man United wins 5 straight. It has been 492 days since he has gotten a haircut, and today Man United goes for its 5th consecutive victory. Not draws. It has to be 5 straight wins. So
are they a favorite today? What's the?
They were a slight favorite. I'll double check what the exact number was. But yes, on the 3-way line, they were favored. So this looks like the opportunity. It's minus 137 on the 3-way. Okay, thank you, producer Justin. So yes, they're favored to do it. It is one of my favorite stories. I've been following it for a very long time now, and this is absolutely tremendous.
So what prompted this? Because there's no way he anticipated this bit running.
I've seen a couple of interviews,
long as it has.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of interviews with him. It's essentially what you're saying is like, hey, he's like, yeah, it's not like league games or anything like that. It's just 5 straight games. You don't think that they're going to fall into like this pit of despair the way that they did, and then sure enough, it got a little bit worse. So we'll see exactly. But it was one of those like, hey, this will be fun for like a month or two, and then it turned into a year.
The hair photo is crazy.
Yeah,
too.
Show them to you. It's wild. So it's a stupid social media thing that I'm totally fired up to watch, and I want to see if Man United can pull this off.
Do you think he goes full buzz cut? when he finally cuts
So
it?
in pictures of him before he started this, it's what he rocked. So I would assume
Beautiful.
That's what he did.
I'm all for it. Speaking of things getting a little bit worse, apparently that was the Super Bowl handle for the state this year.
Oh, yeah. So, I had mentioned this to you a couple of times. I asked a few folks when we had them on, like Chuck Esposito and whatnot, what was the expectation for the overall handle here in the state of Nevada? For those who don't remember, especially in our early days of coverage at VSiN, it was always a big topic. Hey, are you going to break the overall handle record this year? What's the record handle going to be like this year, that year? And the year was in Las Vegas. Obviously, the Super Bowl, it did matter because that was where everybody was here. They had $190 million in terms of total handle. But I figured, sports betting's become more and more prevalent. Fewer people are coming out to Las Vegas, as we know, and the tourism numbers have been down, as we talked about. And sure enough, this last Super Bowl, just the other day, if you look at this is the Nevada Sportsbook performance for the last 10 Super Bowls. And up at the top there, 2026, $133.8 million. That is the lowest handle that you've seen in 10 years. And win percentage, good, 7.4%. But in terms of overall handle, you can see the diminished business here in this for the Super Bowl, I should say. So I don't know if it's a troubling sign. It's something that I was just interested to see how it was going to go. And sure enough, a very minuscule handle in comparison with past few years. And then, of course, you see 2024, which, again, is the reminder the Super Bowl was here in our state.
Yeah, probably a lot of factors with that. But the point being that people don't have to travel to Nevada to make these types of bets anymore. And it's not the biggest. I mean, you can bet from anywhere, right, across the country. And it's not the biggest draw to come to Vegas to do these things anymore. Plus, you pair in the game that we had, which how many bookmakers did we have on throughout the course of the last 2 weeks that said we're not seeing the same buzz necessarily about this game that we have in years past?
I also think, like we talked about, I mean, some of these places have become a little bit more corporatized. You're nickel and diming a lot of people when it comes to some of the properties. Bill Krakenberg's talked about a lot over on A Numbers Game when he's been on with Gil. And I think that makes it somewhat less attractive, too. It's hard enough to go out there and spend your hard-earned money on things, but to have to save up the massive amount that you would need to come out here, make a trip out of it, and bet on the game, it just feels like there's fewer and farther between. And even our neighbors, like you're talking about. If I live in Arizona, I can make the trip out here. We can also just do it all there.
And you have a bigger menu, too, more often than not.
Yep.
So even with as many places that have done expanded and like they've got the big packets of props and stuff, it's still not the same as what you have on DraftKings or a FanDuel, for example, where you can click every tab in your mother.
And the state gets in its own way to an extent here as well. Online gaming is a pain in the ass to get to if you're here in Nevada. When you sign up, when you give your information, what you have to do, you have to go to the actual brick and mortar. You got to get them within the geolocate. You got to do so many different things. It is a pain times 4. And speaking of 4
goals, USA, USA, USA. Let's go.
Don't blow it. Come on.
The shot differential right now, USA 21, Team Canada 8. And this is just adding on to what has been nothing but dominance for Team USA against Canada throughout the course of the last however many months, dating back to November. They did a rivalry series. They played 2 games on American soil, 2 games in Canada for 4 total, where I told you earlier, they outscored Team Canada like 27 to whatever it was. It was small.
Yeah.
And now obviously a 4-0 lead here for Team USA where we sit. So we're going to keep watching this one. We're sweating out the regulation and puck line for Team USA. So to about, what is it, in the second period, 7 minutes to go here in the second, a full period to go, but would love them to just keep tacking on goals here.
It's a great tweet. Man United playing nervously. They look like a team that knows what's at stake. A man getting a haircut.
24-7 was the disparity, excuse me. So I guess 28-7 now when you look at what they've done here in this one. That's another thing too, and we'll talk more about this tomorrow when we continue to preview the men's side of the Olympic. There are a lot of fun markets actually that you can get into this. You can do like full tournament points leader, MVP, goals leader. For Team USA, there are a lot of like Team USA specific prop angles that you can get into too. So that will be fun. More on the NFL though here real quickly, because we are seeing at least early some additional markets start to open in the National Football League post Super Bowl. Yesterday when we were on the air, we were talking about the latest Super Bowl odds that were put out as well as league MVP. Now we have AFC, NFC, divisions, name the finalists, exact result as well. Most of the early money per DraftKings Sportsbook reports that I've seen socially, the betting favorites in the AFC, the Buffalo Bills plus 550, they're taking the most early money in the AFC. Buffalo, who has not won the AFC since 1993, so could next year be the year after firing their coach and getting a new one. In the NFC, the Bears at 13-1, who are 7th on the board, are getting the most play. This is what I thought was the most interesting, however. despite the Bills and Bears, like I said, taking the most money in their respective conferences. It is the New York Football Giants at 70-1, 75-1 that are taking the most bets here. Could they be the Patriots of next year?
So you were asking me that question. That's the question I asked Mitch today on the podcast, which is like, who's going to be the next Seahawks? Who's going to be the next Patriots? The team that, and Seahawks specifically, were 60-1 to make that push, and then of course to eventually win. I don't think the Giants would be it for my money. There's a team that you and I have discussed quite a bit at times that I do think would be worth it at such a big price to put something down. The Atlanta Falcons at 80-1.
Okay.
Are you like? I am a believer in the skill position talent that they have. I'm a believer in Kevin Stefanski. I think he was given the short end of the stick a little bit in Cleveland when it came to roster development of that offense. The defense was fine, but the offense was very lacking in talent and never really invested properly in the quarterback position outside of Deshaun Watson, who completely fell apart. But at 80-1 for the Atlanta Falcons to win the Super Bowl in a relatively weak division that is conquerable, I do think that Atlanta sticks out as a team that at 80-1, at the very least, Stormy, you're grabbing that. It's going to be a long wait, but you're at least looking at a team that could really surpass some preseason expectations and can win a division, can push for a lot of different things, and be a surprise upstart group next year.
Anytime that you feel like you find an advantage on a team that's in a bad division, that's going to make you feel good about it.
I mean, look, not a bad division, but to your point, good schedule. It was the Patriots.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. Positives when you have when you're in a position like that. What do you think of so they're facing the AFC North and NFC North also as their opponents in 2026-27. So you get a mixed bag there, I guess, like tough teams like the Ravens and Bengals, but you also get like the Browns and.
I mean, are the Bengals going to be tough? Their defense going to be any better?
Yeah, that's a good point. So that actually, to switch gears to go back to the NFC side of this with the Bears being played as much as they are defensively, they had so many turnovers, and that turnover fortune, is that something that's replicable another year? I don't know. Like, I think if you're making that bet, you're more banking on the progress that Ben Johnson has with Caleb Williams in the offense than you are on, but that got them out of their own way so many times. Anytime they were in trouble, it felt like those turnovers just kept popping up.
If I were to ask you which team would fall farther from where they were last year, Chicago or New England, which would you pick?
Well, it would have to be New England because they're going to have a tougher schedule next year. They have a first-place schedule.
They're going to have a first-place schedule, and we talked about this yesterday. The stark drop off the cliff when the offense faced 4 defenses in this postseason that were some of the best in the NFL. And it wasn't just that, oh, hey, we're less efficient. That was oh, no, we are an offense that is absolutely struggling here. And I think that we're going to learn a lot more about New England next year for sure.
That's why we talked about and call me crazy, but earlier on Monday, like call me crazy, but maybe this strength of schedule thing actually did matter because it seemed to catch up with them in those last 4 games.
Chicago did show some improvement at times, so.
They did. Yeah. And so I'm interested to see what that looks like where what are you as a full-fledged team instead of like the late game heroics and having your defense force turnovers to ultimately put you in position to win games? Like, I don't know. Meanwhile, ProfitX, everybody, the #1 place for college basketball player props this season. They offer all players and all schools in every state. ProfitX is available. As we get closer to March Madness, take advantage of ProfitX's 20% purchase match. Download ProfitX now and experience the future of winning. Use our promo code VSiN, that's VSIN, right now to get started.
You know that wellness goal you set at the start of the year? It's not too late to stick with it and make your future self proud, especially with the all-in-one nutrition shake from Kachava. With 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, adaptogens, and more. No fillers, no nonsense, just the highest quality ingredients. Stick with your wellness goals. Go to kachava.com and use code FITNESS for 15% off. That's KACHAVA.com, code FITNESS.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
edition of Money Moves VSiN, the sports betting network, and wrapping up period 2 with about a minute to go in Team Canada versus Team USA on the women's Olympic ice right now. USA up 4-0 right now. Hopefully they hang on for us because we do have a couple of wagers in play right now. That said, the plays yesterday went well as we hit our little betting recap here, looking ahead to the games that we have in action today. Pistons minus 2.5 comes through. I tailed you on that, and you had a 2-0 day.
Yes, I did. So let's move on.
You're so...
Pistons minus 2.5, Kansas plus 1.5. You got the Pistons, as you mentioned there. Good for us. The team play gets home. And then Kansas plus 1.5. I do have to, let me pull this up really quickly. Let it not be lost upon society right now. As Chris tweeted to me early this morning, great call yesterday with the Pistons and the Jayhawks. Very lucky on the Kansas Jayhawks. I mean, it took 1.5. The game closed 4.5. The best player didn't play.
I didn't even ask you that earlier. So, what was the sweat when you start seeing those tweets about 20 minutes pre-tip that Darren Peterson's not playing?
You're in, so it's just whatever. Let's just see what's going to. I'm not going to buy off of it. It's not. I'm not putting the mortgage on these things. So let's just let's sweat it out and see what we can, if we can pull one off. And sure enough, you did. So glad I didn't buy out. Glad I didn't try to eat the juice and just sit there and see if Kansas can pull it off. So that's exactly what they did last night.
Okay, looking ahead to today, just one play for you, but in college hoops?
Yes, this is on my radar. We talked about it with Wes as well. So I'm going to ride with our boy here, Miami at home against North Carolina. Mention all of the, I would say, motivation for Miami in this spot as well. The obvious, I guess you would call it, letdown spot for North Carolina at home. You play Duke, you get the win. Now you come back on the road to take on a Miami team, which does have some upside on offense. We've seen that. They're a little bit more middle of the pack in conference play. Haven't been able to shoot the ball particularly well, but do have a really strong presence inside. Are the best team in terms of free throw rate in the ACC. So I think you can probably get this done. And a very good rebounding team as well, Miami, as they lead the ACC in defensive rebounding rate. So getting North Carolina off the glass, getting them to limit second chance opportunities, which they haven't been particularly great at, they can get there and get it done. So let's go with Miami catching North Carolina off a big win at home.
Okay. As for today, I know you joined me on the puck line for Team USA today, so still holding out hope with one period to go there. I also bet the 60-minute line, which we gave those out at the top of the show. I placed a few of these futures in on the men's hockey side. Rasmus Dahlin over 4.5 tournament points at minus 130. He entered the Olympic break on a heater, had at least 1 point in 7 straight games, 11 total in that time. You look at some of the matchups that they have, particularly in the group phase. In the preliminary round, Sweden is a massive favorite tomorrow against Italy. Finland, yes, will be a more challenging test. Slovakia, who they're much better than as well. I just think there's a path for him to drive offense and score points. In terms of some of those futures, Group B, Finland, plus 140. You enticed me. I'll toss it in there. Give it a shot. As far as the group bets go, I think that's the most reasonable at plus money to bet on. I think Canada takes Group A. I think Team USA takes Group C. But Sweden, I'm not as sold on as a minus 155 favorite big picture. So Finland at plus 140. And the Czech Republic in a couple of ways, plus 400. So bet 100, win 400 for them to medal. Get on the podium, my boys, as well as plus 2.5 goals on the puck line against Canada in their preliminary game on Wednesday. And I am tailing your boy, Zach Cohen. I was listening to Hardwood Handicappers this morning. He said he liked the 2-leg money line parlay on the Rockets and Spurs today. Yeah. And I am on board with that one. I mean, it's all big favorites, I feel like, today in the NBA. But those ones, especially the Spurs, like the situational spot that they have against the Lakers, LA on the second half of a back-to-back, the third game in 4 days, Spurs having a 2-day rest advantage in this spot. And then we were talking about just like the injury stuff in general for Los Angeles. There are a lot of things I think that show up San Antonio.
Hope it loses because you bet the Houston Rockets against the Los Angeles Clippers.
I'm sorry. I know you. Well, you like why didn't you take them as a dog today? If you like like the Clippers so much, throw them in.
I forgot about that. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah,
maybe we can both win. I know you would prefer me not to.
No. There's a universe in which that happens.
I feel like you were talking about it as much as you were and like hyping up Kawhi and how well he's played. Monster game this weekend, plus 8.5 for you there. Total 213.5, by the way, in that one. Were there any other games, whether it's like NBA or college football, that you contemplated but didn't get to? I mean, or college basketball, excuse me?
No, but there is a thought that I wanted to share with you that I would like your opinion on. So we were talking regression candidates in the National Football League, Clippers, Freudian slip, plus the points. We'll add it there too. So we talked about regression candidates. Mm-hmm. One I brought up to Mitchell, who's about to take over the desk right now. The Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
I think they're a very strong regression candidate as well.
So I think it's the question of, like, what are they offensively?
I think
what is Bo Nix? Because you were not buying Bo Nix all season long.
I think that's all fair. I also think there's a real question to be asked of what are they defensively. Post-bye week, they were not the same. They were not. Now, they ran into some teams that were playing backups at the end of the regular season. But if you sift through the numbers and look at them against adequate opponents on offense, they very much took a massive step back. And so if that's legitimate, it's a small sample size, but it's worth pointing out.
So
their record in clutch games, which is absolute insanity, the one-score games, they were consistently pulling those off because their offense was so bad, but their defense was keeping them in it in those early portion of the season. And then, of course, they were able to pull out those victories. That's always a sign for regression. And then you look at the division as a whole. The Chargers, with better health along the offensive line, should be a very dangerous team, not only in the division, but in the NFL. They're favored to win the division. The Chiefs, just assuming that they're Kansas City, right? Better health, whatever it is, at the very least, they're going to be an adequate, average to above average team that you're going to have to deal with twice a year. The Raiders might be improved. We'll see what they do, but if they go get Rashid Shaheed, if they go and draft Fernando Mendoza, if they're running Clint Kubiak's offense and they invest in the offensive line, the Raiders could be a team that would be, I think, much better this coming year on an easy schedule too, so we'll see how that plays out. I think there's a lot of factors that would lead you to looking at the Broncos as a team that will come down the standings quite a bit from where they were.
Does that then, now I'm even just thinking more about the postseason and the conversation we just had last segment about the New England Patriots. You don't think that the Broncos defense was that good down the stretch and they took a step back. Does that then make the Patriots offensive performance that much worse?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like anything to slaughter the Patriots. Like, no, just play it. Yeah, it could.
Did you see the VSiN TikTok, by the way?
No, I don't have TikTok.
Put out this week.
It
might have been on Instagram as well. But
there's a great VSiN Instagram reel, I believe, that is up maybe soon about me and Mitch Moss.
Oh, I was going to say something, but I think the acronym goes to something else as well. It goes to plastic surgery.
Okay.
But BBL is what I'm looking for here, but you'll get it when you watch it.
Mitch is getting one, okay?
Well, no, but this is actually Mitch Moss-centric, the TikTok video that I'm talking about that VSiN put out. It's like a cut-up of a bunch of people that were on the Seahawks, and like, everybody called us Patriots haters. Yeah. Well, maybe we were just right, and I just want one Patriots guy to do it, and that's how it starts. And then it's like a cut-up of Dustin Sweetelson and Mike Somich and like all these people. We weren't in it. I was surprised. You, of all people, I thought really should have made the cut on that.
I mean, I was a very pro Seattle guy for a while. Just point that out there.
It was a funny video, though. I was cracking up when I was scrolling yesterday.
Good.
By the way, because you bring up the Raiders and their potential as being a team that could elevate next year, we finally got it officially official. Yep. And I don't think the league is going to do any tampering things with the stuff that leaked out in the official offer because they, I guess hypothetically could when Kubiak already said I'm going to Vegas afterwards with Stacey Dales, but the team actually made it official yesterday, announcing Clint Kubiak as their head coach moving forward. Also, we got an update on the Max Crosby being done with the Raiders thing. I saw Jason Lockenfora come out and say that an unnamed GM told him Max Crosby, quote, told Tom Brady he'll never play for the Raiders again. That's a fact. Told him he'll retire before he ever plays for them again. But I'm not sure they're actually going to trade him. Myles Garrett said the same thing last year. We know how that ended up. And of course, Garrett went public with his trade request at Super Bowl week, kind of similar how this all started out with Jay Glazer and everything he was saying. So what do you think?
I mean, I think he's going to be done. I think that we've kind of reached the point now where I don't think Matt Crosby wants to play for the team. I think the team understands that the window is passed and that it would be best and what you could get for him. I would very much refute Jay Glazer's initial report, if you will, on Yahoo during Super Bowl week down on our media row, which was that they would get a package on par, if not better, than what Micah Parsons got. I don't think that would be the case. I think you're going to get good assets for a Max Crosby, but I think that as we talked about, and we've been on the right path with this offseason so far for the Raiders, which has been, I think they really started to turn the corner on being a forward and progressive thinking franchise when it comes to football. When you look at playing for the first overall pick, going and getting a Clint Kubiak type as opposed to a retread or a head coach, they are making the choices that I think are now a little bit more founded in the current iteration of thinking in the NFL front offices, which would, I think, then lead you to taking your best asset and getting stuff for it so then you can really upstart this or, kickstart this rebuild. Because guess what? As I just laid it out to you there, Stormy, if I told you they rebuilt the offensive line and invested it in free agency and they signed Rashid Shaheed and they drafted Fernando Mendoza, that's not an awful offense to go to bat with. And we're not even talking about what they might do on defense, too. So as much as I hate to say it, if they continue down this path, I think the Raiders will be a much more adequate franchise next year.
The offensive line has really, really got to get figured out. Like the fact that they drafted Ashton Genty without having one is just kind of a wild concept in general. They are, as we mentioned, having the division odds out and available right now, 25-1 long shot in the AFC West. And Las Vegas Raiders, you are on the clock. Fernando Mendoza, minus 8,000 to be the number 1 overall pick.
Can I borrow $8,000?
I don't know if you're good for it. On that note, we got to step aside. Follow the money with Mitch and Paul coming up.
You know that goal you set at the start of the year? You can still do it. Whether you're committed to a thru hike with friends, lifting heavier, or simply walking more. It's not too late to stick with it and make your future self proud, especially with the all-in-one nutrition shake from Kachava. Because quality nutrition shouldn't be complicated. Just 2 scoops of Kachava's all-in-one nutrition shake, and you've got 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, adaptogens, and so much more. Plus, it actually tastes delicious. No fillers, no nonsense. Just the good stuff your body craves. So instead of adding to your backstock of supplements that overpromise and underdeliver, simplify your progress with just 2 scoops of the highest quality ingredients. Stick with your wellness goals. Go to Kachava.com and use code FITNESS for 15% off. That's Kachava.com and use code FITNESS. KACHAVA.com, code FITNESS.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.